Lindsey Thompson. Ms. Thompson, come right here, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have a seat. You would raise your right hand for me. Solemnly swear or affirm testimony given this cause to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Okay. There's a rule of evidence in effect that says you cannot be in court unless you testify. And once you have testified, do not discuss your testimony with anybody else except the lawyers. Okay?
Okay.
Mr. Stainton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Thompson, would you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your first and last name for the court?
Yes, my name is Lindsey Thompson, Lindsey, Thompson, Thompson.
Ms. Thompson, I notice you're wearing a green jacket there that has an emblem on it. What's that for?
I am a first grade teacher at Paradise Elementary in Paradise ISD.
Can you tell us a little bit about where Paradise is located?
Paradise is about 40 miles northwest of Fort Worth. A very small town, population under 1,000. Very small schools, one stoplight, your typical small town.
And tell me about Paradise ISD. How many kids do they have and what size school is it?
UIL classifies us as a 3A district. We have about 100 students per grade level, give or take a little bit.
And you said you're a first grade teacher?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been a first grade teacher?
I have been at Paradise ISD this is my 7th year, and prior to that I was in another district for 5 years teaching first grade.
So you're kind of a permanent first grade teacher.
Yes, I do love first grade.
So in your class, in Ms. Thompson's class, on average, about how many kids do you have in your class?
Between 18 and 20.
Now I'm going to take you back a little bit, if you will, back to it's been a few years, to the 2022 school year, okay? Were you teaching first grade then?
Yes, I was.
And did you have the same 18 to 20 kids?
Yes, I did.
Now, during that school year, did you have a chance to have a student in your class by the name of Athena Strand?
I did.
And tell me, when did she come to your class?
The first time I met Athena was at Meet the Teacher night. Her stepmom brought her in, and I vividly remember her coming in. She had all of her supplies. She was so excited about being at school. I can just still remember her just standing there, just excited to be there. And that was the first time that I met Athena.
And tell us a little bit about what kind of student was she?
I adored Athena. She was so much fun. She was a free spirit. She loved drawing. She loved to write. She loved to color. She was just your typical, 7-year-old little girl that just loved life. She would come in with, stickers on her hands. She loved to dress up. Like, she truly was a free spirit. Like, there's no other word to describe her. Like, she definitely was a true gem.
I'm gonna bet when you say free spirit, is that kind of a nice way of saying that she might have been a little more enthusiastic in your class than some other kids?
Yes, she's one that would stand up for herself, and she would speak her mind when she wanted to. She loved to talk and socialize with her friends, but that's just who made her who she was.
So let me ask you, how long, you said it was Meet the Teacher Night. When does Meet the Teacher Night normally happen in a year?
In August, like about the week before school starts.
And then she was in your class through when?
November 30th, 2022.
Now, just so that we're clear, can you describe her physically for the jury?
Yes, she was thin and petite. She had blonde hair that sometimes she'd wear up, but most of the time it was down, wavy. She had perfect color skin, but she was always smiling.
Judge Matt?
Yes.
Showed you two pictures. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
And these are states 1 and 2. Who is that in those pictures?
That is Athena Strand.
Is that what she looked like the last time you saw her?
Yes.
It was actually mid states 1 and 2.
Have you seen a tender to
Oh, I'm
defense?
sorry. You did it yesterday.
Tender to defense?
Oh, I'm
How long would it take, Your Honor, if we could just?
Sure.
sorry. I thought we had it on the drive. I'm sorry.
Okay.
States Exhibits 1 and 2 are given.
You published 1 and 2?
Yes. Can all the members of the jury see the
Oh,
display
yes.
board?
Sorry.
No. Can all the members see the display board? Okay.
All right, well, when the computer figures itself out, we'll talk about that in a second, all right? Let me go. Let me ask you, let me take you to November of 2022 in any given school year. What is going on in November of 22 in any given school year in Ms. Thompson's first grade class?
Well, at the end of November, we are getting ready for Christmas, so it's a little bit chaotic, but everyone is super excited about Christmas coming, so we're doing Christmas crafts, writing Santa letters, just all the fun things that bring magic to first graders back at school.
You said that's at the end, right? Do you have some type of Thanksgiving break in the middle?
We do, yes.
And so let me take you to November of 2022. Do you remember when Thanksgiving break was that year?
It would have been the week before November 30th.
Okay. So let's talk about a couple of things. Thanksgiving break, obviously good for students and teachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, what is it like when kids come back from that Thanksgiving break?
It's a little bit chaotic, just because they know Christmas is coming. So they're just super excited. And so we, do lots of different activities to keep them engaged and still, ready to learn. Yes.
You said that after Thanksgiving break is we start looking towards Christmas, is that right?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you about another time during school, and it's something that is commonly called Red Ribbon Week. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Tell us what Red Ribbon Week is.
Red Ribbon Week is a week where it usually falls around Halloween, but we focus on making good choices, whether it be who we interact with, things we put in our body. It's, like I said, it's around Halloween, so we talk a lot about, the candy that you have in your basket, make sure that your parent checks that before, but it's really just about safety and being aware of your surroundings and teaching kids that.
I'm going to show you States Exhibit 2. Tell me what you noticed about that picture.
She is wearing her Hocus Pocus shirt, and she did love Halloween and love dressing up.
So, was Athena in your class after you come back from Thanksgiving break
She was.
and doing those activities you talked about?
Yes.
And was she there during Red Ribbon Week that year?
Yes, she was.
Judge it for me. Show you the warrant, State's Exhibit 4. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
That is a journal entry from Athena's journal.
And how do you know that's from Athena's journal?
The following day after she was found, I looked in her journal at school, and this was the last entry in her journal.
And you recognize that as her journal?
Yes, it is.
Just read out to Mid-States 4.
And then this one will object hearsay, relevance, or prejudicial or probative and due process.
Objections overruled. State's Exhibit 4 is admitted.
Ms. Thompson, you said something about you knew when exactly that you noticed this in her journal. When exactly was that?
It would have been on December 1st, 2022.
And we know Athena was murdered on November 30th.
Yes.
What day was that you found that?
It was Saturday, December 1st.
So at that point, we hadn't found her yet, had we?
No, sorry. It was on Saturday, December 2nd.
December 2nd?
Yes, sorry.
And so have we found her body by that time?
Yes,
Okay, and you're up at school and you're looking?
yes.
And in that particular journal week, you said that, is that during Red Ribbon Week?
Yes, that was something we wrote during Red Ribbon Week.
And I'm not going to have you read it exactly, but what is Athena learning in that journal entry that day?
She is learning to stay away from strangers.
Stranger danger.
Yes.
And as part of her schoolwork and stuff during that week in that journal entry, what's going on during that? What are the students learning about?
They are learning about just staying safe, whether it be with interaction with other people or things that they're putting into their bodies. Just learning how to be safe as a child.
And part of that would be staying away from strangers.
Yes.
Or people that children know are strangers.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to take you to the... I'm going to take you to the end of November, on Monday, November 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in school that day?
Yes.
Was Athena in school that day?
Yes, she was.
I think you talked a minute ago how you guys were doing Christmas stuff.
Yes.
How far away from Christmas break at that time?
About 3 weeks.
Judge, can we publish States 4?
Sure.
Is this what you were talking about before?
Yes.
Is her writing?
Yes.
And that was the last writing she had in your class?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that last week. Okay. So Monday is the 28th,
Yes.
and I'm going to take you to that Wednesday, November 30th. Was Athena also in your class that day?
She was.
Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of things here, and just to verify this. When we show you States Exhibit 1, that picture of her, or States 2 in her Hocus Pocus, is that what she looked like on that day?
Yes.
And when I tell you, and I use the term mandatory reporter, do you know what that means?
I do.
What does that mean?
That means as a teacher, I'm required to notify CPS if I have any concerns of neglect or harm.
Right. And in this particular case, when we see those pictures of Athena that you had, is that what she looked like?
Yes.
Did she have any bruises or other injuries on her?
No,
that
she
day?
did not.
No? Okay. And I didn't tell you this in the beginning, but she's taken all this stuff down. So when I ask a question,
Okay.
then you answer right back and forth, okay?
Okay.
I didn't mention that before.
Okay.
All right, so let's take you to that Wednesday. She's in your class, and anything go on that day that was unusual or out of the ordinary?
No, I mean, it was a typical, middle of the week. Like I have talked about before, it was, right before Christmas, so everything was a little bit chaotic. As teachers, we have to really, make sure our classroom management is strong during that time. Athena, that particular day, she was talking a lot and, just being a kid. And so I did have to write her binder that afternoon just to let, parents know that she did have a little bit of struggle that day.
So a little bit of a rough day for Athena that
Yes, yes.
Let me show you, what we've marked as states 3. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, that is a writing that Athena did from the first week of school. We read a story about being a good listener, and then the students responded by how they can be a good listener.
All right. And is there a picture on that?
Yes, there is.
And did you take that picture?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
And did you create this for their class?
Yes.
Judge, we'd ask if it states 3. Sorry.
We understand objections, hearsay, relevance, or prejudicial, probative, and due process.
Those objections are overruled, states 3 is admitted.
Ms. Thompson, when did you say that picture was taken?
That picture was taken on the first day of school.
And we know, when was her last day of school?
November 30th, 2022.
And you said she had a bit of a rough day, a little bit too much talking.
Yes,
Did you have to be a teacher?
I did.
And when you say you write in somebody's binder, for a first grader, is that a pretty big deal?
Yes, I mean, for the most part, yes, but just to let parents know kind of like what happened at school and, just kind of give them an idea of what's happening in the classroom.
When Athena left school that day, what time does school normally let out?
3:25.
And let me just ask you this. What did you say to Athena when she left for school that day, leaving school that day?
I gave her a hug, and I told her, I love you, and we will have a better day tomorrow.
Did you have it tomorrow?
I did not.
When's the next day back at school?
It would have been Thursday.
Athena's not in your class, is she?
She is not.
What about Friday?
She's not in my class.
And part of this is, I'm going to ask you, what was going on in your class? How did that affect your class for those 2 days with her missing?
It was very hard. A lot of kids, some knew that something was not right, but everyone knew she was not there. I was still having to count her absent. A lot of kids, you could tell their anxiety, like they were worried. They knew something was wrong. Her desk was empty. But it was a very hard 2 days in the classroom.
So now we roll to Saturday. You said that's when you found out,
I found out Friday evening.
Friday evening on the 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
Did she been?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move forward to Monday. You go back to school Monday?
Yes.
How do you go back to school on Monday after that?
Because I knew that the rest of my class needed their teacher. And they needed someone to love them and support them and help them walk through this.
So what's happening in the school that day, that Monday?
We have a crisis team, which includes local counselors within our district, people from local churches. They come in to talk and support kids. We read off a script of letting them know that their classmate is no longer there. We do activities to try to help them begin the grieving process. There's just a lot going on, like just trying to help kids cope and learn. Like this is a big thing for them at 6 and 7 years old to have to walk through. And so there's just a lot of counseling, guidance, and support that is happening.
And at this point,
We need to take a break. How much longer do you anticipate with this witness?
a little bit.
Okay. All right, let's take our morning break. We will we'll come back at 20 minutes to 11, okay? 15 minutes, all right? See you then. We are ready to proceed, Mr. Stainton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thompson, when we left off, we were talking a little bit about your classroom that Monday and what's going on, and you talked about we have counselors there, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And what was going on with the kids in your classroom that day?
They were very confused. As 6 and 7 year olds, they have a really hard time understanding the loss of a friend. We did a lot of grief groups. We read stories, just trying to help them start that grieving and healing process.
And in this particular situation, are they aware of what had happened to her?
Yes, they were.
So they know that she was taken against her will and murdered.
Yes,
And these kids are how old?
6 and 7.
Let's talk about you. You've been teaching how many years total now?
This is my 12th year.
And how does this affect you as a teacher?
When I look at my life and career, I have before Athena and I have after, and it looks very different.
How so?
Every day I hug my kids as they walk out the door and tell them that they love them. But now every day when I do that, and for the rest of my teaching career, I have to think about what if they do not come back tomorrow.
So we are now approaching 4 years out?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Is this still affecting those kids?
Yes.
How so?
There are several of those students who, they are now in 4th grade, and there are several that are still having outside counselors. Several students that are afraid to sleep in their own bed, will not play in their front yard.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustained.
Can't talk about things that you've been told by other people.
Yes.
Would you say this has had a big effect on these kids?
Yes.
Would you say that it's a lingering effect that's continued all the way to the 4th grade?
Yes.
Last thing I'm going to talk with you about here is, tell me about the mailbox.
So, when Athena passed, we wanted to do something for our students so they could learn how to grieve. And so we had a mailbox made that was placed outside of our classroom.
And let me stop you right there. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Yes.
This mailbox.
Yes.
Who made this mailbox?
My husband and I did.
And was it only in your classroom? Where was it?
It was between 2 first grade classrooms in the hallway.
And when we say mailbox, I want to make sure I understand what we're talking about. Would this be a normal, like we would see mailbox?
Yes, on a stand, yes.
And was that your idea to have this mailbox?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of you putting this mailbox or bringing it to the children? What was the purpose?
I wanted them to have the opportunity to write letters to Athena to help process,
Objection, I hear you say.
Overruled.
to help process, and they would write, draw pictures, whatever they were feeling, and they would place in that mailbox.
And again, like I said, I'm not going to ask you what any of them said, so to speak. So you're saying the purpose was for these kids to be able to express themselves by writing or coloring and put in that mailbox.
Yes.
And so that mailbox, when did it arrive in between the two first grade classrooms?
The day that we returned to school, so that Monday.
And did you get some letters in?
A lot, from all grade levels.
So did the mailbox stay there or in your classroom? Where did it end up?
We eventually moved it inside the classroom, but it began to get too much for the kids. They would tell me when they saw that, it made them think of Athena and what happened to her, and so we had to remove it out of the classroom.
And so how long did this mailbox, was it a fixture in the school?
For the remainder of the year, we moved it up to the front office, and kids still continue to put things in there, but it was in a different location in the office.
How many letters do you think you got in that mailbox?
Oh, over 100.
And just a little bit of in the school before it let out?
Yes.
When we talk about you, you said that you've had some struggles as a teacher.
Yes.
Have you had any struggles as a person?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I have been through hours of therapy, trying to heal from this. I have lost 2 other students back to back with this tragedy, but this has hit me the hardest. It has forever changed my life, forever changed how I teach my kids. One of the biggest moments of struggle for me was one day I had a little girl. She came out into the hall. This was about 3 months after everything. And she was crying. And she sat down and she said, "Miss Thompson, I really miss Athena, but I'm afraid that this is going to happen to me too." And at that moment, I did not know.
Stay.
I
It
didn't,
affected your kids.
it did. It did.
And you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming in today, Ms. Thompson. My name is Steve Goebel. I'm with the attorneys for Tanner Porter. I just have a couple of quick questions. On that state's exhibit number 4, the journal entry,
Yes.
the date on the top of that was October 27th, 2022.
Yes.
And what day did you say that was turned in?
I opened up her journal on December 2nd, and that was the day that I saw it. Yes.
So was that something they wrote in daily or weekly? Or?
It was weekly. Between like October and then December, we do a lot of writing outside of our journal, so that's why there was nothing in there after that.
And I think you, either today or previously, have described Athena as being very friendly,
Yes.
very kind of talkative.
Yes.
Was there a story too that she maybe had befriended a new student?
She had.
Can
Yes.
you tell us about that?
We had a student that came in to our classroom, and he had some needs that needed to be met, and she opened her arms to him. She played with him on the playground. Like, she just had a big heart, and that's just who she was.
That's wonderful. Thank you for testifying.
Yes.
Pass it on.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be finally excused.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. Who do you have next?
Elizabeth Ashley
Elizabeth Strand.